Well, there's our cutter. Let's see if we can get in this thing. As you can see, it is rather frosty this morning. Get in here and get this thing cranked up. Let it go through a warm up cycle while I sit over in the comfort of the Ram, which is already warmed up. Oh man, it's chilly. Burr. The old Sandy starts right up. We'll turn on some heat and we'll go back to the truck and sit and wait. This kind of example, this right here is the glow plug indicator on the Sandy. It won't crank anyway. Even if you turn the key to start, it electronically locks out the start until that glow plug's done. Then it starts up. So kind of cool. Really can't mess it up. Whew, cool designs. Let's go back to the truck. I'm about froze. Alright, so we're not completely defrosted yet, but we got a lower section there where we can at least see the blade. And I can kind of see out the top here. I'm gonna go ahead and get the transport, and I don't have to load this up on a trailer or anything. I'm just going over to the neighbors and giving them a helping hand with some of the brush that they've got. And we'll get going here. Alright, so we got about 100 hours or more on this VMC cutting deck. A lot of people have asked questions. Kind of just wanted to go over it real quick, how it works. So on the bottom here, basically you've got two blades, and it's got a big giant flywheel, basically, that those blades are attached to. So once this builds up a lot of momentum, it pretty much cuts using that momentum. Now on the Sandy, it has enough hydraulic flow where pretty much that it spins up within a second or two at full speed. So that cuts really well. Just got done cutting. You can see all the debris. You know, this will cut trees or bushes, you know, probably like that diameter without any problems. And it can also basically run down the column of the tree and break it up into a million pieces, basically effectively mulching it. I mowed probably a good little patch on really steep terrain. There's really no other way of getting to it in under an hour. It's really effective at cutting on steep grades like I've cut here. I basically use this to keep this cut down, and it's worked very well. Hydraulics, really simple connection. The only really weirdness is kind of you're treating this as a one-way thing. So this will only spin in one direction. Your machine needs to support that. The Sandy does. The way it does it is there's a bypass valve that you open up. So one side of the hydraulics here is actually going to be free flowing. It's not going to run back to the spool. There's only going to be one side that's actually, you know, letting flow through as on pressure. So when you are pressing the directional control, only one way is going to work. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to spin this thing backwards. The VMC in particular, it won't spin backwards. I'm not really sure whether that's this valve piece or the design of the motor itself, but it won't spin backwards. It'll deadhead hydraulics, so you want to be real careful with that. Default hoses, these are what come on it. This worked on the John Deere 27C, and this also worked on the Sandy. The links are right. Normally the thumb's bled down a little bit here. Normally that doesn't really get in the way, but haven't really had any problems with the hydraulic lines. One key difference to this one, as you can notice, there's kind of a different design. So this side is squared off. This side has an opening. The opening's nice because you can kind of see the edge of the blade as it spins through the opening. If you're trying to trim down a tree, that works very well. It does trim really close to the ground, especially if you're at an off-camera angle to the ground where you're literally scraping it. So this would be straight on. But if you have the excavator positioned where you're kind of angling the deck just a little bit, you can basically mow right up against the ground. It's really useful for getting stumps, small stumps out and flung out of your way without having to actually go in and dig. Again, mine has the Wayne Roy style connector. This is drastically improved now that I've used it a little bit. It's kind of got wore in. It's really easy to get the pin in and out. I was having to beat that pin in and out every time. Now you can just basically set the deck on the ground, give it a little bit of pressure on the front, and that pin will come right out. The only malfunction that I've had on this entire unit since I've owned it, and that's been a while now, it's probably been about a year, is nothing with the actual deck itself, but the connector. Let's see here, let me get the right connector side. One of these connectors actually leaks, and it doesn't leak when it's hooked up. It actually is leaking out of the quick fitting, so I'm gonna have to swap that out. Really probably no fault of VMC, whoever manufactured the connector, or it could be me. I could have got some debris or damaged one of the seals in it or something like that, but really that's the only issue that I've had. So all in all, really happy with this thing. It's done a really good job. I probably use this 50% of the time versus cutting and grading, bucket work kind of thing. And again, I'm not doing this professionally. I just use this around the house and helping out neighbors and such. But I do use this quite a bit. Probably not as much through the winter, but this has been a very good purchase. I've already made my money back on it, tenfold. I paid, I think, around $4,300, and that was delivered. Again, you can go back and watch the video when I bought that. I believe it was Apex. He actually drove that down, delivered it and everything for that price, and would highly recommend them. If you're looking at one of them VMCs and you happen to be anywhere in their area. I think they came all the way from Pennsylvania down to North Carolina. So really good group of guys. Really glad I found them, and I'm really glad I got this particular unit. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.